This is the Entrepreneur Unleashed Show, episode 72 with Derick Van Ness. Hi, I'm Patty Keating, and I believe entrepreneurs are the future of the world. Over the past 2 decades, I've built 4 businesses in alignment with my values, giving me the freedom to live where I want and do what I love. I'm here to tell you that creating your successful business does not require struggle or sacrifice. So, how do you create the lifestyle business you love doing only what you love? Welcome to the Entrepreneur Unleashed podcast. I am so excited to bring you Derick Van Ness today. He's a wealth strategist, and he's passionate about helping people reach their fullest potential. His company, Big Life Financial, is focused on removing the mystery and the misinformation surrounding money and financial strategy so people can live their biggest life. Derick believes that each person has something unique and valuable to contribute to the world, but that most people are never able to express their gift due to fear, doubt, worry related to money. His mission is to eradicate that fear and fundamentally change the way that people think about and utilize money within the next generation. Derick, hello.
Happy to be here, Patty. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So glad you are here. Let's just start. Is there anything you'd like to add to the introduction? Anything you'd like us to know about you?
Wow. Well, I'm so passionate about this because I've definitely had my experiences where throughout my life in different businesses, like money felt like it was a constraint. And I've realized that once I get over the hump and I sort of get the money piece squared away, then I can really spread my wings and fly. So for me, this to some extent is a personal mission to give a lot of people what I struggled with early on in my career, and that's kind of the inspiration behind this. Of course, working with lots of people, that's been gasoline on the fire, but that's really where it came from for me.
Yeah. So you started your business. How long have you had this business?
Well, this particular business is an extension of a business I was in a couple of years prior, but I was working with a team, a different team at the time as part of like a unit. And so this business has been around since 2015. Mm-hmm. Prior to that, I was working with entrepreneurs from 2009 onto like 2014, 2015. Yeah. So, and there was a brief stint of flipping some houses in between the two businesses because, I did that early on in my career. And, sometimes it's nice to get those big chunks of money.
Yeah. Right. And then you can launch your business.
Exactly.
So once you started, what kind of obstacles showed up?
Well, when you're working with people and you're teaching something, there's a lot of worthiness stuff, right? Like, okay, these people are business owners. They're successful. They have a lot of money. Am I smart enough? Am I good enough? What if I make a mistake? Like all that stuff, of course, flares up in your head, and nobody's infallible. But, I think there's something that I learned during the meltdown in 2008. And after that was you have to trust yourself. You really do. I went through a really difficult time in 2008 because I was a house flipper prior to that. And I had 16 of those projects going in Los Angeles when the market fell on its head.
Oh boy.
So yeah, I lost a couple of $1 million and it really shredded my confidence. And I was kind of paralyzed for about 2 years because it was like, what could I have done differently? And by not trusting myself, I found myself in a state of paralysis or like waffling. I kind of had one foot in and one foot out all the time.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult to go anywhere with that. So by necessity, I had to learn to trust myself and get back on the, back in the saddle and start writing. And I had some great people around me who helped me with that. But as I started working with people and coaching them through a lot of the stuff that I knew, the fear, the concerns, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Am I pretty enough? All of that stuff came up and really became a problem early on. And I just had to really trust myself. And that was the way through it.
How did you do that? How did you learn to trust yourself?
Well, a couple of things. I made it a point to acknowledge when I when I gave good advice, when I had some wins, because I think a lot of times for me, what I was running into is I was doing great work.
Mm-hmm.
And I always in the back of my mind, I had a, yeah, but what if it doesn't work out? We had this great conversation. They had this breakthrough. Yeah, but they were probably going to figure that out anyway. Yeah, but what if they don't use it? Yeah, but maybe it's not as big a deal as I think it is. Or those types of conversations where I was just like kind of pulling the rug out from under myself over and over. So I had to stop and say, hey, you did your part. You showed up for this client. You gave it all you had. They had a breakthrough. They got off the call inspired. It's up to them where they go with that. You're doing what you can do from your end. And really acknowledging that was a big piece for me, and really taking compliments. And my deal with myself was just say thank you. Don't yeah, but it away. Don't give any excuses. Maybe you did get lucky. Who knows? But just say thank you and
Yeah,
just
that's
sit
great.
with it. Yeah, that was big for me.
And feel that, like, I don't have to explain myself to anybody, right? Like, okay, that's a little awkward.
Yeah, it's kind of like act like you've been there before. Like you really believe what other people are saying about you in that case.
Yeah, and I love the part about trusting that you showing up and doing what you do is enough.
Yeah, I have this thing where like I love to help people, but that can turn into me trying to rescue them. And that's not the best version of me, right? That's where I cross the line and I can go too far or have gone too far. And that was another thing, a boundary I had to learn. Yeah, like as a giver, sometimes you give too much, and by doing that, you actually disempower the other person because they need to do the same thing, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine was about responsibility, like taking too much responsibility for other people. It's like that's a crazy rabbit hole to go down.
It is because you can't make another person happy. You can't make them successful. You can't do any of that for them. And I always joke and I say, I can pave the road and I can line it with flowers, but you've got to walk it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the approach that I take, is I try to open the door. I try to help them with as much as they can, but ultimately they've got to walk it. And that's where they're going to get good. And one of my maxims in life is confidence comes from doing, even if you're doing it badly, like just being in the arena and doing the thing. You can watch from the sidelines, you can strategize, you could do all this other stuff, but until you get on the field and play, you just don't know what it's like. And once you've been on the field, you're like, oh, I can handle this. I can do this. And so I really encourage people to do that with the work that we do together.
That's great. So you learned these lessons, you moved through the challenge. What do you think the biggest lesson at the end of that, just kind of looking back, if you put it all together, what do you think the biggest lesson would be?
Yeah. So there's a couple of lessons in there. Well, a lot of lessons, but I'd say the big one or two for me are pick something that really matters to you, because I see a lot of people chasing money. And the problem with chasing money is in businesses, especially as an entrepreneur, there's going to be periods of time where it's, quite frankly, it's not worth it just for the money. You may as well just have a job, right? Especially early on. And what I found is a lot of people, and I've done this myself, when the money goes away, then you give up and you don't kind of get over that hump to the next level. And then you go do another thing and you do the other thing and you start all over again. I literally was working with a guy once and he's like, Derick, I'm starting 10 businesses right now and none of them are working. I just can't understand it. And I was just like, wow. But I've kind of been that person where I spread myself too thin or I gave up too early. And so I think pick something that matters to you beyond just financial means, something like a lot of people use purpose or passion, but I prefer to think of it as choose work that's meaningful to you, right? Because if it's meaningful to you, you won't give up on it when it's a tough month or a tough couple of months or whatever. You're like, this is worth it. Even if I just scrape by, like the difference I'm making in the world matters enough that I'm going to continue to show up. And truly, to me, that's how you get through those plateaus we all experience. So that's one of them. That was a really big thing for me. And then I think the other big lesson is you need to do things before you're fully ready. Because I felt myself getting held back a lot of times where like, who am I to say this? Who am I to speak in front of a crowd? Who am I to, build a group or for people to follow me? And And I just had to get past that and say, you know what? I'm going to show up. I'm going to do the best I can. And the people who are going to show up and be a part of it, I guess if they continue to come, I'm doing a good job. And I'm going to make mistakes, and that's okay. But I had to say, even if I'm not quite ready for this opportunity's come along, or this thing's been put in my heart that says, this is what's next for you. And it's usually scary as hell.
Yeah.
Right? It's that thing that matters so much that you don't want to look bad. And that's the thing you should be doing.
Yeah.
Right. And that doesn't mean go out and like be irresponsible about it, but it does mean don't let your doubts hold you back. If you can see it, you're probably close enough to it that you should start working toward it and making it happen, in my belief.
That's great. That's really great. I feel like so many entrepreneurs are getting ready to launch, and they're missing all these opportunities along the way because they're not trusting themselves. So I'm so glad you're sharing that. It's important message.
Yeah, it's been really big for me.
Yeah, I think a lot of people who are really passionate about transformation and serving and helping people come up against that and have the opportunity to move through it.
Yeah. Yep.
So what are you passionate about right now?
Well, honestly, I'm really passionate about helping people deal with the current circumstances. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of misinformation, and I think financially we're in a big transition stage. Yeah. Right? There's all this stuff going on with the virus and with the stock markets, and I feel like the rock's been thrown in the pond, but nobody's really seen the full ripple of it yet. And so I deal with a lot of clients who are really worried about, like, what should I be doing? And I'm a little scared for the future, and just helping people, once again, come back to what you know. Like, I'm a big believer in keep it simple, stick with things that you know that work. Don't, especially in a time like this, don't take unnecessary risk. And I think if you stick with what you know, you're going to be okay. And just helping people have a sense of confidence that, hey, things are continuing to work, things are continuing to move. We might need to adjust. I'm like super burnt on the word pivot, even though it's the right idea of like,
yes.
but you have to look for where are the opportunities for you and your business now, and where is it going? Because a lot of things are going to change.
Yes.
And so I'm really passionate about helping people identify not only the dangers, but the opportunities that are out there, because I think so many people, our survival instinct kind of kicks in and we like shrink down.
Yeah.
But I also believe that you can't shrink your way to greatness. So we have to be aware of the danger, but we have to expand our way through this thing. In my opinion, we have to get smarter. We have to get better. We have to create more value. We have to create greater leverage or greater depth and personal touch, depending on your business model. And to me, that's a really big thing, is just identifying that, hey, some doors are closing, but a ton of doors are opening up. And if I can use this to align with where I'm great or what I have to bring to the table, some fascinating things are coming up. So that's what I'm really passionate about at this moment.
Nice. What is your vision for the next half a decade or so?
Leveraging a lot of what I teach. So I've spent the last decade working with 1,000+ entrepreneurs and becoming really good, I believe, at what I do. But I know that as an individual or with a couple of people on my team, we can only have so much of an impact. So I'm really looking at expanding and creating a team that can work within the framework that has, taken me dozens of books and all this experience to kind of gather together so that we can get out and do it for a lot more people. So the next 5 years is about leverage through human capital, like really training the right people and helping them get the skills that they need to help people so that we can reach a lot more people. So I don't have a number on 5 years specifically. I know my 1 year goal is 5 people on my team that are kind of doing what I do, that I'll be overseeing and kind of helping with, working with individual clients. And then 2 to 3 years from now, hopefully have a couple of them who've got their own teams, and, we'll be at 20, 30, 40. So I'm not sure what that turns into in 5 years, but yeah, that's the idea.
That's the map.
Yeah, it really is.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
So in starting a new business, one of the best pieces of advice was from my father, who was a small business owner.
Mhm.
He said, if you ever want it to be a business, you have to treat it like a business. You have to get up and go to work. And even if you don't know what to do, then your job is figuring out what to do.
Mhm.
And I think so many people, when they start their own business, if you don't have employees and overhead and all these things, it's really easy to get lost.
Mhm.
And so I think showing up and having a structure of, I start at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock every day, and then working a regular schedule until you get things going. That we all want to get to the other side of that hump where we've got systems and people and things working for us. But I think in the beginning, really showing up and doing the work, like he talks about in The War of Art, right? You got to show up every day. Some days are going to be great. Some days are going to fall on your face, but there's no substitute in the beginning for just being on the field and playing ball. So that to me was a really pivotal piece of art that really helped me in the beginning of my businesses.
Mhm.
Another great piece of advice that I got from from my father was, this is being related to relationships. He just said, focus on being a really great person. And he said, and the rest will take care of itself. Don't go out and try and be something you're not, or woo people or impress people. He said, just focus on being a really great person, being great at who you want to be, and the rest will take care of itself. And I found that to be true for me.
That's great advice. I love that so much.
Yeah. It's just so basic, but
Yeah.
as soon as I did that, I let go of all those insecurities of like, I need to be this and I have to prove myself, and all this stuff that was in my early 20s, and just was like, oh, just focus on, take care of yourself, be a good person, be kind, focus on the things that matter to you, try and make a difference in the world in your own way. And all of a sudden you're a person that people are interested in and want to spend time with. So
Yeah, that's great. So, what personal growth have you experienced as a result of all of this?
whew, that is a big question. um, well, when I went through all that stuff in 2008, I can definitely say that that couple of $1 million I lost was tuition for my spiritual awakening, because there was definitely a period of time, about 18 months there, where I basically had zero money. And what I discovered from all of that was, you can be really, really happy with good health and good relationships. You don't have to have a ton of money, because I'd had plenty of money and been unhappy.
Mm.
But some of the happiest times in my life were when I was broke. But I got a spiritual awakening out of that whole thing, which was really, honestly, it was all I had to hold on to. Every day I'd wake up with a pit in my stomach and have to do a bunch of stuff I didn't want to do. But I went to a park and I used to run 3 miles every day because I was coming off a broken femur and learning how to run. And
Mm.
then I would meditate for 20 or 30 minutes. And that really got me in the state of like just loving and appreciating nature and what I did have, because I didn't have a lot of the things that had been important to me prior to that.
Mm.
So that was probably the biggest thing for me, was just uh, understanding my place in the bigger picture of the world. It's not all just about me. It's about contribution. It's about, when you look at nature and how everything really works in harmony,
Mm-hmm.
and just all of a sudden, I don't know if you're a fan of Taoism, but I love
Yeah.
the idea of living in harmony with the way, right?
Yeah.
Which is sort of what Taoism's about.
Mm-hmm.
And just understanding that, hey, if I look around, there is a way that this whole thing works. And some of it's, the spring where everything blooms, and some of it's the winter where everything dies, but
Mm-hmm.
like it all works together. And I'm a part of that, and just getting clear on like, how do I fit into that? What am I uniquely designed to do in this whole ecosystem? And that
Mm-hmm.
was a really big awakening. And I don't know, I felt like it gave me my place in the world, where I didn't have to like prove it. It was kind of like, the trees in the forest, like they don't have to prove that they belong there. That's just what that's their place.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't know, up to that point, I think I'd had a little bit of that wandering, seeking, trying to find, and I feel like that really gave me some roots.
Mm. That's really awesome. All right, let's talk about tools and resources. What kind of tools or gadgets do you use to make life easier?
So are you talking like life hacking wise or that type of thing, like just really efficiency?
Yeah.
Yeah. So some really basic ones that everyone will say no duh to, but you'd be amazed how many people don't do this. I love audiobooks, right? And when you're driving or when you're getting ready in the morning, you can read a lot of pages on time that you would normally be just doing nothing, right? So love audiobooks. Um, I let's see. I I just have to put a plug in for this. I absolutely love a company called F45 for workouts.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
40,
I've heard of them. I've seen their site.
yeah, so I've done things like CrossFit and I've done different kinds of plyometrics and I've done trainers and all this other stuff, but nothing's gotten me more excited about fitness and functionality of my body and just a great mix of a community for me
Mm.
as F45. Like I absolutely love it. I'm not going right now just because of the whole situation with gyms, but prior to that for 9 months, 6 or 9 months, I mean, every day, 7 o'clock, I've never been a class guy. I've enjoyed working out, but it kind of bores me sometimes. And this is just fun, innovative, functional, feel
Mm.
strong, feel excited. It's not quite as hardcore as like a CrossFit,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really leveled and challenging. And I don't know, I just absolutely loved that. And for me, it was like 45 minutes a day. I got incredibly strong and incredibly fit. And for me, that's a real life hack because
Yeah.
if your body's going good, you feel good about everything.
Yeah. And you guys, will drop a link in the show notes. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering how to connect with anything that he's mentioning that's a resource or tool, you can go to pattykeating.com and click on the podcast and the show notes will be there. So what are you listening to? Like books or read? Well, you mentioned Audible, but what blogs, podcasts, audiobooks are you listening to? What do you recommend?
um, I'm kind of a fan right now of Ryan Holiday,
Mm-hmm.
who does the Daily Stoic, and he wrote The Obstacle's the Way. And so I listen to a lot of his stuff. He just the way he talks about the Stoics and kind of honestly, when I read Stoicism, it's a little tough for me, but he like really pulls out all the gems and makes them accessible and he does it on a regular basis. So it's just really great content for me to stay grounded and aware as I'm moving through things. Um, I like this guy. This is a financial one because I'm a financial guy, but I follow this guy named Anthony Pompliano,
Mm-hmm.
and he does like a daily briefing of I think it's called the Pomp Podcast is his podcast, but I get his daily briefing, and in 6 or 7 minutes he summarizes a lot of what's going on in the financial markets,
Mm-hmm.
and I just really like that. It makes it easy to kind of make sense of a lot of the madness that's out there.
Yeah.
So he's one of my favorites. Um, what have I been reading lately? I read a lot of spiritual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm reading a book called I Am That, and I usually only read like one chapter, like one little. It's like a 2 or 3 page chapter a day. Um, and he's an Indian sage that has a very unique approach. Some of his stuff totally resonates. Some of the stuff I'm like, I don't even know what he's talking about. But it definitely puts me in a state of once again being aware of like I'm part of something bigger in the universe, and that makes a really big difference for me because it's really easy to get just caught up in like me, and I have to really like remember that like this whole thing, like I'm a part of it, but me isn't just this body. Me is this whole thing is how I view it. And
Yeah.
so I just have to remember when I see somebody suffering or somebody struggling or somebody being difficult, I'm like, that's me over there. Like that's a part
Mm-hmm.
of who I am. And when I come from that place for clients, it really makes a massive difference for me with the impact that I'm able to have. And doesn't always translate to dollars immediately. It quite often it's just doing the right thing for somebody.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how often that comes around and you're just like, wow, like I spent some time with that person and all of a sudden they referred me to their brother and that person's the perfect client for me. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That contribution comes back.
it does. Yeah. And then I'm reading all the marketing books and all of that stuff that's out there.
It's hard to skip over those. I don't know. In this industry, they just seem to call me in no matter what else I'm reading.
Oh, one other one. I think this might have been. I'm not sure if you're part of this group, but I've become a huge fan of a gal named Kelly Roach. Do you know her with the live launch method?
I've
And
heard of her, but I don't know. Clue us in here.
yeah, so she has a podcast called Unstoppable Entrepreneur,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got the same. I think it's Tribe of Unstoppables is her group on Facebook, but she just amazes me. She's created this business where they really help a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of coaches to build a model that's not like your typical, like, drop people into a funnel and send them a bunch of emails and all this stuff. She really does like they teach you how to do a live 7-day training where you do Facebook lives every day. You take people through a process and you show them exactly what to do. And at the end, the offer is more or less to, like, if you think you know everything you need and you got everything you got, go do it. But if you want help, we're here. Let's work together. And she just seems to get it. Like, one of the insights I got from her was, most people are like, when my business gets bigger, then I'll grow my team. And she's like, it doesn't work that way. Yeah. You have to grow your team first, and then your business gets bigger. And that was an insight for me, because I have people on my team, but I'm always like waiting, like, I got to have the revenue, because if I hire this person and it's an extra $50,000 a year to hire someone, like, that's $50,000 out of my pocket. But I sometimes forget that during the course of paying them that 50 grand, they're going to hopefully make us a whole lot more and really help the team to grow. But I feel like she's, I don't know if she's just been through the trenches or what, but she's someone that's kind of on my radar right now, and the stuff I'm listening to and reading her book, and I'm part of her program. I just love the content. I think she's great and worth checking out.
We'll put that in the show notes to you guys. All right. So looking back, if you were to do it all over again, what would you tell your younger self?
I would tell my younger self that before you're good at something, you're going to be bad at it. So don't be afraid to be bad at something. Mm-hmm. Get really clear on what you think you want and go for it. But then don't be afraid to change as you grow and find that the certain things aren't a fit. There's no way to know going in exactly what you want. Mm-hmm. So it's okay to start with something and not, I have this thing with being principled. So I have a tendency to be like, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And if it's not, maybe I shouldn't even start. And I guess the advice I would give is just like, if that's what you think you want right now, go for it. Give it all you got. And then as things change and you realize, hey, this isn't exactly what I want, then you can zigzag your way through life. But the key is, like, be on the field, be making a difference, having an impact. For young people, I think acquiring skills is so valuable. It's not about chasing the dollars early on. It's about building skills and building relationships. And if you focus on those and you're clear on what you think you want and you go after it, you're gonna end up in a really good place.
Very nice. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, love it, Patty. I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Hello and welcome. I'm recording this episode from my home office during self-quarantine, as we were all asked to stay home due to the coronavirus. If you like what you hear and you'd like to hear more, please join me in my Facebook group. It's called the Unleashed Entrepreneurs. You can search that on Facebook. Come on over. It's a community of thriving entrepreneurs making a difference in the world, doing what they love, and changing lives. Hope to see you there. Enjoy the show. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have you ever wondered what you could do to make your own business and grow it online? Head on over to pattykeating.com and take the entrepreneur code. You'll discover your unique value, your personality style, and how you can combine those two into a thriving business that helps people and lets you make money doing what you love. I'll see you there. Bye for now.